Well, September is a busy time full of transitions. A big one is for 4, 5, and 6-year-olds who are just starting kindergarten. Were you excited? Were you scared?
I was excited.
Are you going to come here every day?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Good.
Monday,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
5 days. Well, in Saskatoon, money that has been fundraised has helped expand its full-day, everyday kindergarten. So, today on the show, we'll take a closer look at this, the benefits and maybe some of the drawbacks. We hope to hear from families today. Is this something you have chosen? Do you wish it was available for your child? Or do you feel like your child just isn't ready for that much schooling? You can call us at 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Well, you heard me there. I was at Forest Grove School in Saskatoon to talk to some kids who were just starting full-day, everyday kindergarten. Hello. What's your name?
Celestine.
Celestine. That's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
How old are you?
5.
5? My goodness. When is your birthday?
March 6.
Oh, my goodness. Where are we right now?
In kindergarten.
And what do you think of kindergarten so far?
The teachers will be nice.
Is she nice? Yeah. You like her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you going to learn in kindergarten?
The alphabet.
Do you know the alphabet already?
Yes.
Can you tell me the alphabet?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
I love that. That was beautiful. So well done. Is there anything about kindergarten that makes you nervous?
There's new friends.
New friends? So that's exciting and can make you feel nervous, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your name?
Francie.
How old are you?
5.
5. And where are we right now?
Kindergarten.
How do you feel about kindergarten?
Great. Fun.
Fun? What makes it fun?
Having everybody.
Yeah, new friends, a new teacher.
And also play.
Play? What are you playing with right now?
I'm playing cooking.
Yeah. And what have you done today so far?
Today I done everything.
And you're playing in the kitchen, in the play kitchen. Yes. What are you excited about most in kindergarten?
About teacher school start.
Yeah.
The school starting.
Yeah. And are you going to come here every single day?
Yeah.
What days of the week are you coming to school?
I come in Sunday, Monday. No, not Sunday. Sunday's a holiday.
Sunday's a holiday. You're not coming to school on Sunday. But what days are you coming?
I come in Monday and Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's it.
Woo!
My name is Rachel Freemanis. I teach the full-day, everyday kindergarten at Forest Grove School in Saskatoon.
And what's that like to teach full-day, everyday kindergarten?
Well, September is always very busy, but it's great. Yeah, it's so nice to have one group of kids to come every day. Really good for those routines and just getting them introduced to school.
And I think people are curious, just how do kids in that age group do with a full day of school?
Yeah, they definitely come in with more challenges at the beginning. Saying goodbye to mom and dad is always more difficult, and kind of getting used to waking up every morning and having to go to school, and lasting the whole day. They get to see all those fun things like recess and staying for lunch and seeing older brothers and sisters at school, and just being able to see what a full day of school looks like is really fun for them.
And what does it look like in the classroom? People might think of kindergartners and desks sitting all day.
Yeah.
Right now they're playing, but what is a typical day like for them?
Yeah. So we usually do like a softer start in the morning. So they come in, they get kind of settled, sometimes have breakfast, usually doing an activity all together. We do like the classic things that any other grade would do, like a calendar or a morning meeting. And then we usually have a playtime in the morning and in the afternoon, especially at the beginning of the year, just for the kids to adjust to coming to school. And then we also focus a big literacy block in the morning. So that would be things like the alphabet, starting to create words, things like that. And math, usually both are in the mornings. Afternoons, usually after lunch, we do a nice quiet time. You can see that the students kind of need that time to take a deep breath and focus for the afternoon. They get to go spend some time with another teacher, which is great too. So get to go to the gym and run around, or go to the music class and sing songs. And then they usually come back to me for a little bit, and then I say goodbye at 3.
You can grab your snack. Are you ready for snack?
The sounds of full day, everyday kindergarten, a class there at Forest Grove School in Saskatoon. Zeba Ahmed is Executive Director of the Saskatoon Public School Foundation, and Catherine Weeks is one of the key financial contributors to the foundation. She believes in the importance of all day, everyday kindergarten, and both join me here in studio. Zeba, welcome to Blue Sky.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And Catherine, hello to you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for bringing this very valuable topic.
Yeah, and I wanted to
light.
start with those cute kids because they were very sweet. And we were all watching them on the screen here share their delight and excitement about being in kindergarten. Zeba, as you watched them and you heard them share, what was running through your mind? And of course, you're speaking to this as somebody who's bringing this to more people in Saskatoon. So what is top of mind for you?
Okay, so my heart comes first, and to see those kids and the excitement and hear the teacher, that just makes everything that we do at the foundation worthwhile. And then you think about the parents as well and what this is providing for those parents. So for us, it's as we're doing the work of the foundation and recognize the challenges, not just in Saskatoon, but across the province when it comes to literacy. And some of the opportunities aren't there, and one of them being full day, everyday kindergarten. And that's why we started the Early Learning Equal Start campaign, which we've had, so many donors step up. And to see the benefits and see these kids, how they progress then through their confidence and literacy skills, just makes it all worthwhile.
A lot of people in Saskatoon will be familiar with the work that you've done, but we're speaking to the province today, so maybe we should back up just a little bit and give people the context here. What exactly is Saskatoon Public Schools offering right now when it comes to full day, everyday kindergarten?
So Saskatoon Public Schools Foundation is offering 29 classrooms that are full day, everyday kindergarten in 25 of the elementary schools in Saskatoon Public. But we also recognize this is not just something in Saskatoon. We do feel very strongly that this should be something that is offered provincially to many other communities as well.
I have friends who live in other parts of the province, and they've been seeing your targeted ads. That's intentional.
It is.
And how come? Why?
Because this is about our province and our community and our society. And there are kids everywhere who, would benefit from full day, everyday kindergarten. It's not for everybody, when we get that, but for the majority of kids to have, and parents to have that opportunity to go to school, to build community, as, the teacher said, and they get to maybe even see their older siblings, and there's healthy nutrition at most of those schools. So this is something that, yes, we started, we're collecting the data, we're showing the benefits of full day, everyday kindergarten. And remember, Saskatchewan is the third lowest when it comes to literacy rates in the country. And we just just because it's not just in Saskatoon. We feel that we can do this, and this province should be the best. We've done it before, and we aspire to do that. So we want to bring awareness around the province so that other communities start to talk about it, parents start to ask about it as well.
So maybe tell me more about the links that you're seeing and some of the data that you've gathered that shows how all-day, everyday kindergarten can affect literacy skills. What do you see as the link there?
So there is a lot of research that shows that full-day, everyday kindergarten is a very good base to get to grade 3 reading and grade 3. And that is a key milestone when it comes to sort of future success of a student. And that's a real pivot point, is grade 3 reading and grade 3. And then from there, the child gains the confidence, the social skills, the literacy skills, and then they go on to high school. So on-time high school graduation, it's almost a perfect correlation of the percentage of kids reading in grade 3 and grade 3 to graduating on time. So if kids aren't reading in grade 3 and grade 3, the chances are 4 times less likely to graduate, but it's almost a perfect percentage correlation that won't graduate. And in Saskatchewan, there's probably about 25% of kids do not graduate on time, and that's about 5,000 kids a year.
How do we compare to other provinces? I only know from personal experience and having people who live in other parts of the country. So I know like BC offers it, Ontario, but what's your sense of the landscape across the country?
So there's various ways that people will, say how a province does or not. But there are about 3 provinces that do not offer full-day, everyday kindergarten. Some will offer it in, focus schools where there's greater needs. But the vast majority, and not just in Canada, but around the world, full-day, everyday kindergarten is offered, and it's publicly funded. In many provinces, in all provinces.
And ours is not publicly
Right.
funded. So just maybe explain that piece of it. How has the foundation managed to expand to so many schools in Saskatoon?
So currently, public funding offers half-day. So it could be full day every other day or 5 days a week, but half-day programs. And, if you think about it, just from a logistical perspective, you're looking at 2.5 hours of class time. So if a parent's a little bit late dropping their child off, they may say, oh, you know what, it's not worth it. I have to go back in an hour and a half. So that's even the practical reality of a half-day program. Not the most efficient. Attendance also significantly increases if kids are in a full-day, everyday program as well. So what we have done through the generosity of donors, Pat and Catherine being one of them, but I can't say enough about the generosity of our donors. I have to shout out to the Brownlee Family Foundation as well, who really got us to aspire to go beyond just a couple of classrooms. So we have been able to do the incremental funding from what the government currently supports in that half-day program. We have done the incremental funding.
I want to know a bit more about the choices that parents have when it comes to this. And again, I'm speaking from a bit of personal experience. I've had to make a choice with my kids, and I've got friends making choices. So there seems to be a fair bit of inconsistency. So just for example, there's actually 3 schools fairly close to my house. And so one offers half day every day. Another offers every second day, full day. And another school offers the full day every day options. So can you talk about it does seem a bit patchwork, and I think parents are trying to figure out, well, why does my school offer this? And if I want full-time, can I get it there? But wait, I actually only want part-time because full-time's not right for us. So explain that.
So most of the schools will have the half-day or half-time program, which, it depends on the school and the neighborhoods. I think most of the school divisions are trying to address the needs of the families within those neighborhoods, what works best for them. So we have offered programs of the full day every day, but there's always a half day, which is really...
Always. No matter the school, there's always an option.
I would probably have to check 100% with the division, but that is the plan. And in fact, for us, that really helps because we are able to then, the data that we're gathering, and we're doing that here within Saskatoon Public, we have perfect... comparisons because we have a half day and we have a full day program within the same school.
So which is more popular, do you think?
I couldn't tell you that, but I will tell you that we are at about 100% use of the full day every day. And I get emails every day going, how do I get in? A few months ago, we had an expectant mom come into our office and say, can I put my child on the wait list?
Wow.
Which is 5 years from now.
Which is what people have always done for childcare, which is a whole other piece of in this conversation that we'll get to in a little bit. But Catherine, first, I want to bring you into the conversation. Why is this so important to you? How do you intersect with all of this?
Let me first start by saying I found it very interesting that the top 3 stories on the news before we got started were on crime and on the homeless shelter, relocating beds. And that is why I am here, to be totally honest. It started with one of our children struggled to read, but we were able to outsource private independent tutoring, and I was able to take her there. I had the time. I wasn't working at the time. And then my husband and I thought, it made such a huge difference, just those 2 years of one-on-one to her life. She's now in her 3rd year of university and reads at grade level. And we thought this should be available to all children, right? If everybody could, like Zeba said, read at grade level by grade 3, everybody has the same opportunity to graduate. So we thought this needs to be in the school system. And so we worked with the Saskatoon Public School Division and the foundation, and they had some great ideas of what this would look like in the school system, in the child's daily routine. And through a 7-week program, pre-pandemic, 65% of kids that were in that 7-week one-on-one program with a retired master teacher were reading at grade level by the end of that 7-week period. Phenomenal results. And so that started in 2013, and we've ever since been happy to support the fantastic work the foundation has been leading. And I just also want to say that the impact that education has on a child's future is second to none. If you look at what we're actually spending, wasting money that we're actually incurring on prison costs, on social welfare, on shelters, that all is money that could be actually relocated in many respects into education, It's not the teacher's fault that we have 5,000 kids that don't graduate every year from high school. We've been, the powers that be have been underfunding education when you adjust for inflation to a negative 10% over the last 10 years. Yes, we've seen an increase this year in the budget, but we're still not at zero, right?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the concerns that a parent who emailed us, wanted to point out. So this is Abby, and she writes, we've had a child do full-day kindergarten in another part of Canada, and then our second child experienced the half-time kindergarten schedule here in Regina. We love the full-day schedule and would recommend it. But that being said, my kids' class at the time had 14 kids in it. It was manageable. When my second child went to kindergarten here in Regina, the class had 25 kids in it. The kindergarten teacher was great, but there were too many little kids for one class, in my opinion. I get having a larger class for grade 1 and up, but so many kids in kindergarten are just learning how to work in groups, have independence for the first time, and for some it's their first time their behavior issues are being recognized and assessed. So it's such an important year to have lots of attention. Plus, the teacher had 50 kids to deal with between her 2 classes. I can't even imagine what that is like. The next year, there was more funding for schools, and the class size went down a bit, so hopefully this continues. So yes to full-day kindergarten, as long as our amazing schools and teachers get proper support. So Catherine, you were kind of talking about that, right? The decrease in funding. And it's one thing to expand the program, but what if class sizes are large? I mean, the issues are, there's layers and layers to this, right, Zeba?
Most definitely there is. The classroom size is a bit smaller than some of those larger classrooms that they talk about. There's also assistants within those classrooms. So many of those things are funded through the foundation as well.
Okay, well, we'll keep talking about this, but I just want to put out the numbers for any parents who might be listening. You might have questions about the program. You may want to share your own experience. 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. I'm Leisha Gravinsky. You are listening to Blue Sky here on CBC Radio 301. We've got a few people with us in studio. In Saskatoon with me is Zeba Ahmed, Executive Director of the Saskatoon Public Schools Foundation, and Catherine Weeks, who's been contributing to the foundation, also believes in the importance of all-day, everyday kindergarten. In a moment, we'll be introducing you to a couple of researchers from the Faculty of Education at the University of Regina. But I just want to share that we did reach out to the provincial government to get their take on kindergarten in the province. And so we received a written response that I'll share with you right now. It says, kindergarten in our province is a universal program that all 5-year-old children have access to. It is a half-time program that is meant to provide a positive transition to a full-day program in grade 1. Government does not have a policy that prevents school divisions from offering full-time kindergarten, and some Saskatchewan school divisions choose to offer this in certain schools. Saskatchewan's 27 school divisions will receive a record $2.2 billion in school operating funding for the 2024-25 school year, which is an increase of $180 million, or 8.8% over the 2023-2024 budget. That is the note we got from the provincial government. Zeba, I'm wondering how conversations are going with the provincial government. Is there an openness to expanding the program? What's your take on that?
You know, I really appreciate the time that government has taken with us over the last number of years. We've been talking about this with them. We've had many meetings. I do think there is an openness, to looking at this implementation. I realize, none of these things can just happen on, the flip of a coin. But there's lots of ways to implement full-day, everyday kindergarten. And if there are areas where maybe there are communities that aren't too keen on it, that's also potential. But Ontario, for instance, many years ago, they reintroduced full-day, everyday kindergarten through a recession. And they focused on the communities that needed it most and then expanded it. We look at what we're doing at Saskatoon Public Schools Foundation and working so closely with Saskatoon Public Schools. We've learnt a lot as well. And it's been a really good working relationship with the division on even, invoicing and salaries and costs and really trying to make sure that we stay as efficient as possible.
Catherine, do you ever hear from families, from parents who are reluctant to send their kids to full-day, everyday kindergarten? Do you hear that sentiment, that there's some concern that kids that age aren't ready to be in the classroom 5 days a week?
No, actually, I've not heard that expressed to me personally whatsoever. And in fact, I think what Zeba also said is, and you said, there is the option to not send your child. So you can choose a half-day program. It's not mandatory. However, where we feel it should be mandatory is for those underprivileged families that struggle to make ends meet, that can't afford a quality space for their child in terms of other, daycare or care options, right? And, the research is really, really clear. Kids from underprivileged environments, they hear, and this is a shocking, it really shocked me, statistic, 30 million less words by the age of 3. Think about that, 30 million less words. And 61% of those households don't have access to books. So when you're looking at the 5,000 kids that don't graduate, I'm pretty sure there's a direct link to those kids when they were 0 to 5 not having the vocabulary, the social skills, the income support, nutrition, all things that if they had the option of full-day, everyday kindergarten, and like Zeba mentioned, it's in, vulnerable communities. That's where in Saskatoon we've placed the full-day, everyday kindergarten program to deal with the issues that parents are facing in those communities, to give them that option.
Before we get to our guest in Regina, Zeba, I just want to ask you, why move it beyond just the community schools? Why, I think, I've heard people say great equalizer if everybody has access to it, but just curious your thoughts on moving beyond just community schools and making it available to everyone. Why do you see that as valuable?
So we've doubled it. So when we started Early Learning Equals Start, we were in 15 community schools. We are now in 25 schools, 29 programs, because parents and teachers asked for this. We get requests all the time asking for, why doesn't my school have full-day, everyday kindergarten? And there are challenges everywhere in our community. There are so many all real-life challenges that we're all facing, be it, financial, nutrition, all kinds of things. And so we know this is such a such a great investment in the early years, and it's not that expensive. It's not as what people might think it is. So that's been our driving reason for doing it.
I'll just bring in a couple more people to the conversation, and we'll come back to you, Catherine and Zeba, to get your thoughts. But Christine Massey and Whitney Blaisdell have been listening. They're both with the Faculty of Education. Massing and Whitney Blaisdell are both with the Faculty of Education at the University of Regina. Christine's research, a lot of it, has looked at education and newcomers. Whitney has a focus on play, and so they join us now to take a bit of a deeper dive into the needs of kids who are kindergarten age. Christine, welcome to Blue Sky.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and Whitney, hello, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So I'm sure you're both itching to share your thoughts. We've been listening to a lot here. Maybe, Christine, I'll start with you. What are some points that are top of mind for you as you've been listening?
Well, I personally believe that access to full-day, high-quality early years programs is crucial. Whether it's full-day kindergarten or early learning and childcare programs, children have the right to such programs. There has been a lot of focus in the conversation so far on literacy, and I think it's important to note that if full-day kindergarten is done well, if it centers a playful learning approach, it can be very beneficial. It allows for a lot more time for play, for learning, for long-term project or inquiry-based learning, for building connections. It minimizes a lot of the disruptions and transitions from home to school to childcare programs. And I think one of the important points we haven't touched on yet is how relationships are so crucial in the early years. And full-day programs allow teachers and students to deepen their connections. Teachers can really get to know their students, get to know their families, instead of only teaching instead of teaching two large classes, they just have that one class to focus on. It also allows them time for planning and implementing meaningful, intentional, play-based learning.
What might be, are there any drawbacks to full-day, everyday kindergarten, Christine?
Well, there is a tendency to push academic skills in developmentally in inappropriate ways through more teacher-directed activities, and so it is really important that play is the dominant pedagogical approach, that the children assume a very active role in directing their play. Free play in itself with little adult involvement has many benefits in terms of oral language skills. As you noted, a lot of my research is with newcomers to Canada, and so play-based full-day kindergarten programs do enhance English as an additional language, oral language learning, and I've observed this firsthand when I was a kindergarten teacher. But more, the teacher really needs to be skilled in structuring the play to some extent and guiding the play by offering scaffolding during their play. This support is really crucial for academic learning, and especially language and literacy skills, numeracy skills, self-regulation, and so forth. Mm-hmm. So.
Whitney, I'm wondering what you would like to add to the conversation. What is going through your mind as we talk about what is best for kids in this age bracket?
I think a lot of excellent points have been made. And when you're looking at what's best for kids and sort of how they're spending their time, I think when you start to open up a conversation about all-day, full-day kindergarten, it does really change sort of what that environment should look and feel like for children, because then all of a sudden you're having a lot of control over the quality of a child's day-to-day life. And so I agree with so much of what has been said, but definitely incorporating play. It was really lovely to see in the example that we've been shown that the children were playing, and it looks like they were sort of self-directing their play in the background. So that's really lovely. And nutrition is a huge part of what helps children to learn and to be healthy and to feel good during their day. And so I think when you start to open up all day, full day kindergarten for kids, it's also, it does become a lot less about just literacy learning, which I also have to say it was quite remarkable, and I think should be remarked upon, the skills that the children had who were interviewed. And I wanted to talk briefly about that. That must have been the most beautiful rendition of the ABCs I've ever heard.
I know,
And
right? It was, oh my gosh.
Yes. And it's quite noteworthy, too, because that child, from my understanding, is just entering kindergarten. And a lot of them knew their calendar already as well. And those would have been skills that one would learn throughout kindergarten. And so there has been, even this already, a sort of evidence of this push down of academic learning on children. And it is getting pushed lower and lower. Whereas, there was a time when a child wouldn't enter kindergarten necessarily knowing that, and now it's quite common. Not that well. That child was very
my
special.
son doesn't know it, and he just started kindergarten, and I'm like, I don't think he could do what she just did. So.
No, and see, that's perfectly age appropriate and normal for a child to not be able to do that when they're entering kindergarten. And kindergarten used to be, and I did hear this from the province, actually, sort of a transition. It used to be a place to go to introduce a child to school and to give them sort of a love of learning through just, here's a safe environment. It's really play-based. When I was a child, we napped during kindergarten, and that's not very common practice anymore. So I think it's worth noting, too, that the landscape of kindergarten and early learning has changed so much over time in Canada.
I would encourage people to call if you have experience with this. If you're a parent and you found yourself making a decision, would love to know what decision you made, and perhaps your child has already gone through a full day, everyday kindergarten program. Give us a shout, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. My colleague, Helena Mihalik, actually spoke to a parent of 4 kids in Saskatoon. Her name is Nancy Broughton, and her youngest started part-time kindergarten this fall. Let's listen to what she had to say.
I think that finding good quality childcare is really important, and a lot of things can be learned on the days that he's in childcare, and a lot can be gained for his life. However, at a certain age, they're ready for more. So he's asking to go. I also think for kids, I did have one child who really struggled to go to kindergarten, but was fine once that they were there. And we really thought the problem was just the lack of consistency. There'd be a 5-day break over the weekend. There'd be the holidays would create it that she only went to school once a week. And so it was just a brand new thing at that age, when if she had been going every day, it would have been really good for her social development, and of course her academic development. Joseph is really aware and has lots of good questions, and he definitely the first week of school, he said, why can't I go to school like all the other kids are going, meaning his brothers and sister. He was ready and wanting to go. He was enjoying it. And so I think we're missing an opportunity. I also really want to speak to the point of early intervention for all kids. Why are we not tapping into the early intervention that's needed for kids to get where they need to be by grade 1, 2, 3, instead of trying to tackle the problem later on?
So that is Nancy Broughton. She's a parent in Saskatoon. And I should point out, in the interview, she talked about how she would have preferred full-day everyday kindergarten, but the neighborhood school that she was sending her children to only had part-time. So she's mentioned a couple things that I'd love, actually, all of you to touch on, because there was quite a bit there. She mentioned that her child has childcare on every other day, and there's lots of great learning that happens there. But that idea of regular routine and how important that is to kids that age, and early interventions. Those are kind of the 3 things that I was hoping to talk about. Whitney, maybe I'll start with you. Those kind of 3 main points. How important is regular routine, and is full day everyday kindergarten an opportunity for any kind of early intervention that a child might need?
Yeah, there are some really great examples. I think Finland is we look to Finland a lot for good examples of education. But so when they're looking at education, they really do take a holistic approach, and they have counselors available, and often they'll bring in healthcare workers, and they're really trying to support a child's whole health and well-being. And then they spend a lot of time outside. And so routine is great to have for kids. It's good to have kids get into a routine. It also really depends on the type of routines that you're developing. And so, is calendar and alphabets and the routines that we often see in schools, which I think are actually changing, and people are spending more time outdoors, and there are more routines being built around play and relationship building. And I heard the other guest speak a lot about community building earlier on the show. And so those are also, you can build routines around anything. So when you start to look at full day, all day, it's sort of what are you building routines around, and what are the early interventions that you're doing that are going beyond just literacy and academic skills when you have children for that amount of time in a day.
Christine, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Whitney. And I mean, I think a lot of times we kind of promote this deficit thinking and thinking of certain groups of children as being at risk. And that's, it really comes down to the fact that, and some academics have reframed that as children being at promise rather than at risk, and recognizing that all children come with strengths when they come to kindergarten. And so it's really important to try and construct a classroom environment which supports drawing out their diverse range of capabilities. And that's where, Whitney's point about getting outside and maybe minimizing things like calendar and so forth will help create an environment where every child gets to show what they're able to do.
I love this because there's so much sharing happening right now, and everybody's kind of nodding their heads and taking notes. And so, Catherine, I'm wondering what you're processing as you hear them chat.
Oh, it's great. I've loved the show so far. I wish we had more time. I just want to say to your two guests in Regina, I had a chance to take a peek at your research, and it's terrific stuff. And thank you for being educators, and thank you so much for doing what you do. We need more people to do what you do. And the one thing I noticed was the work that you, Whitney, have done in conjunction with the Regina Early Learning Center, and you, Christine, your research has been centered around newcomers. And, I see that, what we're trying to accomplish together with full-day, everyday kindergarten helps the most vulnerable as well as the newcomers. It helps accessibility, which was an issue you mentioned in your research, Christine, to quality daycare facilities, i.e. full-day, everyday kindergarten is fully accessible and walkable to most neighborhoods, right?
Walkable. Yeah. That's an interesting point.
Right, because that was an issue with newcomers. They don't have a car, so how do they get their child if they could afford it? So there's the affordability piece, and then there's the accessibility piece. And, same with Whitney's work with the, Regina Early Learning Center, they're serving, a base of clients who is more vulnerable. And that environment is there for people to bring their child on an everyday basis to get, assistance with childcare, positive, progressive childcare. So I think all of us are saying that basically, I know I've talked a lot about the disadvantaged. We want the disadvantaged to become just like the advantaged. And I think it's important to recognize that when we do that, everybody wins. So I volunteer at Howard Code. I've done that for the last 2 years, and I go twice a week. And I can tell you that the diversity and complexity in the classrooms is so extreme that it's impossible for one teacher and 1 or 2 EAs to manage the needs of all the kids in that classroom. These are, superhero teachers, but even a superhero teacher and EAs cannot manage the diversity and complexity. Mm-hmm. When you've got one child at the back of the room yelling, another child below the desk, and 5 kids putting up their hand because they need help with an assignment. Yeah. How do you resource that? So I guess, I come back to the point that I think we should be looking at where we want to get the best bang for our buck, right? And if you have a classroom that meets the more needs of every student, those kids that excel in the classroom get more of what they need too, right?
Zeba, I want to put the question to you. Why do you think, everything that everyone on the show today has shared, I'm just thinking as a parent and how valuable hearing all of it is, right? Like, learning through play and all of that. Why is doing that in a public education system in kindergarten, why do you think that might be the best way forward versus, we could put money into early childhood education centers. Parents could stay home with their kids. There's lots of options, and parents are just trying to figure out, well, what is best for my child at this stage of life? Why do you think the public education system is the place for it?
Because it's public education, and I think there's a lot of pride in what we have been able to do in the past. You look at healthcare, you look at education, things like that. Schools have been the center of communities, and having those kids in the school, building community, building relationships, nutrition came up, all of these things, that is best. The school is already there. We have a system. And Saskatchewan also, people might not recognize that we are one of the worst, if not the worst, when it comes to daycare spaces. So we have a challenge within this province when it comes to those early childcare spaces. So the most efficient thing to do, when you look at having those kind of early year supports, we already have schools. We know that from a capacity perspective, it can be done. There might be a little bit that needs to be done. So we're looking at this from a very also efficient investment perspective. What can we do in this province? And this would take some of the stress off those early childcare spaces, which this province is in desperate need of. But that would give then more opportunity for those other spaces to be used for other kids, right? So this is a win-win in many ways.
Whitney, what do you think? Because I do think at the end of the day, parents are just trying to figure out what is best for their kids. And there's so many different approaches. And some people listening might be thinking, I just want to be home with my kids. I just think the best place for them is I just want to spend as much time as I can with them at this stage in life. Like, what do you think, Whitney?
I have so many thoughts on this. I mean, I really, when I look at the research, and I might be a little bit biased because I really care about play, and I see a lot of benefits in so many ways on play, relationship building, community building. The school being at the center of a community in a walkable neighborhood does wonders for children in a way that so many things that are really paid a lot of attention to in schools and education don't. So we're really hitting the nail on the head in a lot of ways. But at the same time, if you have all these supports and you want to spend that time with your child, I don't think that's harm done if they're in a safe, supportive environment at home. And in fact, research does actually really support that as well. I think this is an amazing idea, an amazing option to have. I think the word option is really important, depending also on the way that you look at it. So, for example, I don't love the idea of mandating that certain families have to have their child attend an all-day, full-day kindergarten for a lot of reasons. I don't love that, but I do love the idea of mandating that the province and sort of the public education system have something like this available for every single child and every single family to make the choice to be able to attend. And that it's very high quality and that teachers are getting the proper education and support that they need to have this. There's something that happens, and we sort of heard an example of it earlier, where a system is underfunded, children are attending, they're not getting the support that they need to thrive and succeed, be happy, learn. And so then children and parents start outsourcing what they need elsewhere, and it's private. And then they get what they need, but the other children don't. And then you have this huge inequity. And if we use the word patchwork earlier, when you have this patchworked early childhood sector, then these inequities start so young. And that's what the real problem is. And then that's when you start this narrative of, I don't have what I need, I'm not the child I should be, I'm not ready for school. This like sort of school readiness conversation is so detrimental. And this deficit mindset that builds so young. And children and families pay attention to that and they carry that with them.
So interesting. Christine, we're almost out of time, but we've got a couple minutes left. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree that we are in a childcare crisis. A recent report found that 92% of Saskatchewan's children live in what's called a childcare desert, meaning a lack of childcare or childcare options are inequitably distributed. And so while the government has been working on space creation and recruitment intentions, there is a shortage of educators. This is a different but important conversation. And so half-day kindergarten can complicate these issues if, as Whitney said, if they have to kind of take a patchwork approach of, securing childcare when their child's not in school. Of course, we would need double the kindergarten teaching workforce. So
you really think we need double?
Well, roughly. Well, I'm going to say if a 4-year-old's in a childcare program, they're not going to be in a program with 25 other children. And so I really think the success of full-day kindergarten depends on it being well-funded with a lower class size. And so one thing Ontario's done is they have paired early childhood educators with teachers, and the two work together to teach a class with an average size of 26. So it's a much better adult-to-child ratio. And so this might be a model for Saskatchewan to consider.
I find this all so interesting. I think most people who listen to this show know I am very much in the thick of things with the age that my children are. So I just so appreciate each of you for coming in and sharing your knowledge with us. So I could keep going, but we'll have to end there. So Zeba, thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you.
Can I just add one quick thing?
You got 20 seconds.
Okay. Listen, we have to invest in our kids now. It saves a lot of money later on. Incremental cost of full-day everyday kindergarten is $6,500 per student per year. To house an inmate, $115,000 per year. Better for taxpayers, better for companies. They have better workers, better for everybody, right?
Appreciate you saying that, Catherine. Thank you. And Christine and Whitney, so good to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Christine Massing and Whitney Blaisdell, both with the Faculty of Education at the University of Regina. And with us here in our Saskatoon studio, Zeba Ahmed and Catherine Weeks. Zeba, the Executive Director of the Saskatoon Public Schools Foundation, who's working very closely with Catherine. I'm Leisha Grabinski. You've been listening to Blue Sky. We're going to do this again tomorrow, and our special guest is Guy Vanderhaeg, a feature interview with one of Saskatchewan's most decorated writers. He does have a new book out. It's out tomorrow, and we're using it as an opportunity to reflect on his life as a writer in Saskatchewan and how he has shaped Saskatchewan's literary scene. That's on the next Blue Sky right here on CBC Radio 1. Have a wonderful afternoon.